YouTube. So I want to make this quick video about the importance of listening to your market or target audience. So I'm often angry when I see organizations or industries curtailing to the vocal minority, and that's happening a lot with, feminists and the regressives, the social justice warriors. And I work as a marketer, and I have a degree in communications. We're not all social justice warriors, I swear. So I want to point out two examples of what I'm talking about. The first is the recent Chris Gayle debacle. So if you don't know about this, Chris Gayle is a famous cricketer that got into trouble with the SJWs for simply joking with a female reporter. He had the audacity to ask out an attractive person at her place of work. Following this most heinous of crimes, the feminist mob descended upon Chris and the Big Bash League, which was the competition he was playing in. They were calling for his head. He was fined $10,000, and that still wasn't enough. Soon they were calling for him to be excluded from future Big Bash leagues. This was confirmed in the media. The Big Bash League apparently won't be inviting him back, which is a grave error. So the Big Bash have bowed to the feminist mob, but I don't see this as a good decision from a marketing perspective because the Big Bash's audience aren't feminists. It's blokes who like cricket and families that want a night out. Some cheeky banter is exactly what these two groups are after. Like if you're a dad taking your kids to the match, right? You don't want like just a dry affair with some shitty cricket. You want some exciting cricket, but also some cheeky banter. So some cricket for the kids and some, more grown-up material for the adults. But by bowing to the feminist agenda, the Big Bash League risks alienating its audience. Now, I'm not basing this just on like my opinion. Several polls were conducted throughout this ordeal, and a couple of them I remember specifically. The Age, which is a paper in Melbourne, did a poll on whether or not Chris Gayle should be fined 10,000, to which 70% said no. Then they conducted another poll asking whether he should be banned from the Big Bash, to which 90% of respondents said no. I mean, this is a clear indication of the audience not agreeing with the vocal minority and the feminist mob. It also proves that people getting offended weren't even cricket watchers. It's so dangerous to bow to an agenda if the agenda isn't serving your target audience. Now, in the day of social media and the clickbait economy, it's going to be very difficult to understand if your target audience is behind the noise because there is going to be so much noise. But for the feminist mob to be activated, all they have to do is hear about something like Shirtgate. I mean, they probably don't even know what science is, and suddenly they're interested in what a scientist's shirt is? Like, it just makes no sense. We all know that women can't be scientists. Um, Another example of not listening to your target audience would be video games. So when Anita Sarkeesian first burst onto the scenes, the games media that had defended us in the past from the exact same claims that she was making were quick to agree, and both parties suggested that the games industry was indeed sexist. Sarkeesian has built up quite a following, and developers have come out in support of reducing the amount of sexism in the games industry. Again, I feel like this is misplaced and they are not listening to their target audience. Eventually, gamers had enough and pushed back against this agenda, although not directly, through the Gamergate movement. Then Sarkeesian and Feminist Frequency did the unthinkable. They stopped being negative and produced a positive video for once. The world was in shock. It was called Positive Female Characters in Video Games, and the video has been watched over 300,000 times. The game featured was Super Brothers, Sword and Sorcery, and the positive female character was the protagonist, the Scythian. Now, after years of criticism and many negative videos, you would expect her fans to jump all over this game like a fat kid on cake. Finally, they have something they can actually play. I mean, all the other games are sex as shit. But So the positive video was released. Now, as a marketer, from an advertisement, maybe 2 to 3% purchase rate, conversion rate. I mean, that would be ideal. But the game saw no appreciable rise in sales. I think Sarkonovic CAD did a video on it, and he shows the Steam charts where there was zero purchases a couple of weeks after the video had released, which was stunning. Like 300,000 views, I would not expect a 0% conversion rate. I mean, there would have been some since, but it would not be anywhere near the 2 to 3% that you'd expect. So what does that tell us? It says that her audience aren't gamers, except for the games journalists that publish her shit without questioning anything. So that's just two examples of industries bending to the will of feminists and the far left to be out to dry by their actual audience. It's a lesson for all organizations and industries in the future. If you come under fire from a mob that has an incredibly loud voice, make sure that they're your audience.